folks, as we make our way towards Dragon Ball Super episode 129 and seeing the conclusive battle between Ultra Instinct Goku having to master the ability of Ultra Instinct and going up against Jiren. And joining me here today to discuss our predictions and our thoughts going into the upcoming episode is my good buddy Super Saiyan Paul, as we encourage you guys to let us know your thoughts and your predictions going into Dragon Ball Super episode 129 and letting us know your thoughts as to how you guys feel about Goku versus Jiren. Now, Paul, this is a big episode. This is going to be a big episode because everything that we've ever seen in Super right now for the Universe Survival Arc has led us to this exact moment with Goku versus Jiren in the finale. Now, this has been predictable ever since day one. What I wanted to ask you is, what are your overall thoughts and expectations as we go into this episode? Because with the episode preview, I must have watched it like at least 10 times. It was so good in the idea that we finally get to see Goku, give it to Jiren a little bit, but it looks like towards the ending of the preview, Jiren is going to be striking back and pulverizing Goku, which forces Goku in getting yet another massive increase in power in mastering Ultra Instinct. So what I wanted to ask you is, what are your overall thoughts as to who you believe is going to have the advantage over Jiren and Goku? What are your overall thoughts on Goku mastering this power? And in pertains to Frieza, because Frieza's still in the tournament, where do you see him in terms of placement? And looking at it from an overall standpoint, where do you see us going after episode 129 as Goku masters Ultra Instinct?
What I'm expecting in Dragon Ball Super episode 129 is Goku having a very, very challenging fight against Jiren. I feel as though the base form of Ultra Instinct, the imperfected form, is still going to have quite a challenge against Jiren because Jiren has not been pushed to the limit just yet. And what we've seen in the preview here is that there's going to be a moment where Goku's in the air and it seems as though he's going to launch Kamehameha, and I have a feeling this is going to be the moment where Goku gets completely dropped and his armor and his clothing is going to get messed up and everything. And I think this is where the turning point of the fight's going to happen, and Jiren's going to match up with the base form Ultra Instinct. However, towards the middle of the episode, I feel as though Goku's going to unlock, or towards the end, if anything, he's going to unlock the full-powered silver hair mastered Ultra Instinct form. And I think it's going to be mostly one-sided until Jiren unleashes everything he has, and I feel as though 100% Jiren still might be able to fare up against this form. And the deciding factor that they haven't mentioned at all, that's been very creepy so far, is that we didn't see Frieza at all in Dragon Ball Super. We didn't see him at all in episode 128. Nothing has been mentioned about him in episode 129, and he can't do anything in episode 129.
He's still in the ring, in case you guys are wondering. He's still in the tournament. He hasn't been eliminated, but as you said, he's looming around somewhere, so we don't really know what he's going to do nor where he is. But do you think that he's going to show up in episode 129?
Probably for a brief second, because he has to do something, because
what is he going to do? I mean, we all know that Golden Frieza is not relative to Jiren at all, so what do you think he's going to do?
If he can't do anything, he'll probably say his plan out loud, or he'll just be like, oh, I'll wait out until they're both weak, and then wait until episode 130 for whatever happens. But I think Frieza's the deciding factor in who wins this tournament.
You really think so? I mean, I don't know. It seems like he's looming in the background. He's still in the tournament, and what I really did appreciate from episode 128 was the emotional moment that we got from Vegeta, because, as I said in my review, it brought me back to the moment with Kid Buu when Vegeta realized that, Kakarot was superior, he was stronger, but here, I felt like it was very different in its approach, because we saw Vegeta, he thought about Cabba, he thought about Bulma. We had a recap towards the early days of Dragon Ball Super, and it was very emotional because he even said it himself. He was like, I'm a fool, I failed, I'm sorry Bulma, I'm sorry Cabba, and he faded off into the void while he gave Goku energy, and this is the first time that I believe Vegeta has handed over energy to Goku this entire tournament, which also includes the moment where he was creating the Genki Dama. Vegeta refused to even give him energy, but now we see it to where he hands him over some energy. Goku's able to, continue the fight. But as we go into episode 129, I want to start off with talking about the imperfected Ultra Instinct form. I think that what we saw during episode 128 was very impactful for two reasons. Number one, Jiren wasn't able to hit Goku at all. He was trying to hit him, but he wasn't able to land a single shot. Number two, when Goku punched him in the ribs, when he punched him in his abdominal, we see Jiren took some damage. I mean, it's very evident at this point that he took damage, and he was very surprised as to the outcome. It was the first time that we ever saw even Jiren even utter the words Nani. So that was very surprising. So when he fights this imperfected variation of Ultra Instinct, do you see it being one-sided for Goku to, have the upper hand? Do you see Jiren adapting to this? Because the way I see this is, I think Goku may have the edge in the beginning. Jiren's gonna tie up, and I think that by the end of this, Jiren might point out Goku's weakness again in saying that perhaps maybe this heat that he is admitting is his weakness, as he did in episode 110, and thus trying to take the victory over Goku and knocking him down. But I think towards the end is when we're going to see this mastery of Ultra Instinct, because in case you guys don't know, we are not going to be having any episode for Dragon Ball Super episode 129 this week, but instead, it's going to be airing next week. So, in terms of the imperfected variation, how did you see this going down, and what do you think is both the best and the worst case scenario for the imperfected fight?
With the imperfected fight, it's still you can still see it with Goku's fighting style. He's still staring at himself, still wondering how do you use this form. And I feel as though for the first half of the episode, he's going to catch Jiren off guard a bit, and then Jiren's going to spot all the flaws, and then all of a sudden, he's going to have the edge, and Goku's going to be pushed to the point where he's going to have to launch a Kamehameha or something, and try to pull what he did to Kefla, and Jiren's just going to shoot that down. Once Jiren shoots that down, I feel as though that's where Goku's going to finally tap into this final form of Dragon Ball Super, the mastered Ultra Instinct form, and then episode, that second half of episode 129, I feel as though that's going to be the star of it. But with episode 130, probably the first half of that one is going to be the fight continuing, and then ultimately I have a feeling Frieza is going to decide if Goku wins, Jiren wins, or if Frieza himself wins, because if he does nothing, he won't help Goku beat Jiren. If it does come down to that, it might be a stalemate. If he decides to ring out Goku, he can easily take the win for himself, or vice versa. Frieza might, if they don't use him in that way, he is going to be the most overhyped and wasted character of this tournament.
I also feel like with the way V-Jump portrayed the Mastered Ultra Instinct form, it's said to be the strongest Goku in all of history. So that was already translated and confirmed by V-Jump, that once Goku taps into this power, once he masters this ability, this is the strongest Goku we've ever saw in history. So you can forget about Super Saiyan 4, you can forget about anything else that came before this. He's going to be at his peak once he reaches this level. So, in terms of the imperfected variation, so you're saying that at some point Jiren's going to expose his weaknesses and then put him down for the count before he transforms further?
Definitely, because every time you see Goku in Ultra Instinct, especially every time he fought Jiren, he's always staring at himself. He's like, I don't know how to use this form. He looks like he's pissed and everything, but he just doesn't have any full usage of it. And
but he is very much aware, as he was with Kefla, if you remember, because when he was fighting Kefla, he was very aware as to what he was doing, and that was one of his weaknesses was when Whis pointed out that he was able to think rather than just act on his own. But for this, you're going to say that Jiren's going to expose the imperfected variation and get the upper hand. But what about once Goku taps into this mastery and he perfects this power? Do you see this really being one-sided? Because we're going to talk about the pros and the cons to this, because the pros to this is the fact that we're going to get the strongest Goku ever, and we're going to be battling up against possibly the strongest person Goku has ever faced before, and that's taken into account if Jiren's going to be using his full power or not. So I have two parts to this question for you. Number one, do you think that Jiren's gonna more or less use his full power against Mastered Ultra's, Instant Goku, or do you think that, perhaps maybe he's still reserving himself until the very end? And the second part to this question is more or less like a subjective kind of answer that I'm looking forward to you, but I mean, how do you feel about the white-haired, the silver-haired Goku making an appearance in the anime? Because many people are kind of conflicted in the fact that some people like the black-haired Goku, some people prefer the silver-haired Goku. What's your take on that, and how strong do you think he's going to be when he does fight a full-power Jiren?
That's a really good question. With Jiren here, I feel as though Jiren can't hold anything back against this form, because one, that's going to downplay himself as well as the new form, and I feel like with all of the hype throughout all of these months, they need to make it max out Jiren and push him, at the very least, make it a stalemate between the two. And if they don't do that, Jiren's going to be underutilized, the new form's going to be underutilized, and maybe even Frieza, and that would be a very big letdown. However, in terms of that, Jiren needs to be able to build upon his character within these next couple of episodes, because if we're not getting him at his full power or more backstory, he's still going to be viewed to me at least as a rushed, shallow character. In terms of the way that this new form looks, I was actually quite contended with the black hair one. I really liked it in the way it stood out against the aura, but after staring at this new white hair all day, or the silver hair, it really grew on me, and the way that I look at it now is that this looks like a form of wisdom. It looks like a form of like an elder type of thing, like similar to like the Grand Priest and stuff like that. It just looks like he's ascended to a much wiser and much more mature form. That's what I'm seeing it as now, but I did like the black form better, and I think I'm starting to grow on the silver one. It depends on how they blend it with the aura when I actually get to see the episode, but I remember all the times everybody was suspecting Super Saiyan White, and now here we are.
Everybody was talking about Super Saiyan White. Everybody has been talking about Super Saiyan 5. Do you remember that back in the day? And, here we are today. I never would have thought we would see such a concept. But then again, if you guys remember, 2 years ago, Akira Toriyama had a plan to reveal this white-haired form for both Goku, Vegeta, whatever the case may be for, the transformation. He had that in mind before the Goku Black story were to be taking place, but instead, he thought that it would come in direct of, what did he say? I think he said something along the lines of, if he were to introduce the white-haired form during that time, it would be in direct conflict with the antagonist at that time, which also happened to have white hair, that being Zamasu. So it's actually it's come full circle. It's very eerie how 2 years later, the same interview that he conducted talking about adding in Super Saiyan White or having like a white-haired Goku, here we are 2 years later with that same concept. So as we go into episode 129, in your opinion, what do you think is the best and worst case scenario for you as a fan? Because the worst case scenario for me as a fan is to see Goku just fodder Jiren throughout the whole episode. That would be the worst case scenario, because I, honest to God, want to see Jiren put the beats on Goku. I want to see them at least be even until Goku masters this power and Jiren unleashes his full power, because up until this point, it's very arguable to say that he has used his full power, because I don't think Jiren has. I think that Jiren is still conserving a lot of his power, and I think that with everything he has to offer, there's more to him than meets the eye. So I think the worst case scenario would be to see Goku beat him throughout the entire episode. But I think the best case scenario for me is to see them be dead even. Jiren has the upper hand. He points out his weaknesses. He tells him in the end, "Oh, Wadida, it's over. Like, you still can't beat me," and thus forcing Goku to master that kind of ability. So for you, what would be the worst and best case scenario going into this episode?
Worst case scenario, Goku completely beats him down, and there's nothing left in Jiren's little mystery book, because with all of the hype, he's not going to live up to it unless he really pushes Goku even further to the ropes. And I feel as though Goku should not be able to, even with this new form and all, Goku should not be able to beat him super fast. I feel like it has to come down to the wire, and might even need Golden Frieza's help at the very end. If not anything, they need to beat each other down to the point where there's nothing left in either fighter, because with all of the hype, we've barely seen Jiren take any damage, we've barely seen a backstory, and remember the feeling that we got with Toppo feeling a bit rushed. If they do this with the main antagonist that's been hyped up this entire time, that is going to kill this arc, and I don't want that happening. That is the worst case scenario. So I want more character development, more time with them giving it back and forth with fighting, and more of the potential of Jiren being unlocked throughout this fight.
I think what's most interesting about this is the fact that I don't think anybody really expected to see a silver-haired Goku. I think that with this fight going down in the history books, it's going to be a great fight. I just really hope that it's not one-sided. But then again, you already know it's going to be rushed, because there's about, 2 minutes left until it's over. So with that being said, they're going to have to only include so much, because I think, again, another worst case scenario for me would be to see another repeat of the future Trunks arc, when we got the whole rush sequence of Zamasu and Trunks and all that kind of stuff. So I really do hope that they kind of marinate this and they allow this to continue. And I really do hope that the fight actually has meaning instead of it being dragged out. But in the end, guys, let us know your thoughts down below as to how you guys feel about this. Do you guys agree with us in saying that you would like to see this kind of be like evenly fought until both of the individuals unleash their full power? Do you guys like Super Saiyan, not Super Saiyan, but Ultra Instinct Goku in his black form, or maybe in his silver form? What are your overall expectations for next week's episode? Thank you all so very much for watching, guys. Once again, if you guys are new, hit that subscribe button, guys. Turn on notifications, leave a like down below if you guys have not. This is going to be big for various reasons, because now, for the first time, we're going to see the strongest Goku in history go at it with Jiren, and I feel like a lot of people really need to give this a chance just to see where we go in terms of placement. Now, a lot of people were saying that perhaps this might end off like on a cliffhanger, which I really doubt. But for those of you who do believe that we're gonna end things off on a cliffhanger, let me know down below as to where you guys stand in terms of seeing this end off on a cliffhanger and seeing the progression towards Super as we near the finale. Thank you all so much for watching, guys. Once again, tune back in for more. We have loads of videos planned for you guys throughout the week, so make sure you guys go ahead and check them out. A quick little reminder, there is no episode going into February 24th, but we are going to resume back on March 3rd with episode 129. So let us know your thoughts down below, guys. Thank you all so much for watching. Tune back in for more, and we'll be seeing you all down in the comment section below. Cue my outro, bitch.